First off, this mic is not even connected to this camera, but I'm giving podcast, I'm giving radio talk show host. I have this mic here so because when I feel like I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna focus on it. I'm doing this video kind of sit down-ish style because it's kind of heavy. As many of you may not know, I have been dealing with mental health and just kind of on and off mental health for years now, pretty much since I was 15 years old. This video has a special place in my heart, especially when I was doing the outline for it and kind of filming for it. And I'd like to say before we get into it, thank you so much for BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate you, and I love what you guys stand for and everything. My mental health has been something that I've been dealing with since I was pretty much 15 years old. I kind of want to give you guys the rundown of what my mental health has looked like for me for the past couple years, months, days, weeks, whatever you want to say. I want to share my journey with you guys in hopes that I can inspire you to fix yours and kind of heal you and kind of give you those first starting steps on how to fix yours if you're interested in that. And if not, if you feel like you're a-okay, this could definitely help you get some advice on how to help somebody you know or somebody you just see on Twitter seems like they're having a breakdown. I just want to help somebody with this video. I want to say that I have been dealing with mental health issues since I was about 15 or 16 years old. That means I was a sophomore in high school. So that was about the year 2016, 17 is when things really started to get, kind of rocky. I started showing symptoms of depression. And yeah, it got pretty rocky. But on top of symptoms of depression, I noticed that I was going through kind of these cycles of very high highs and very low lows at the same time. And at the time, I was taking a, general psych elective in high school, and I kind of learned the different, symptoms for different mental health problems and illnesses. And I noticed that I fit some of those, and I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy, but I never self-diagnosed, I just feel like I didn't have the power. I was a 15, 16-year-old girl. Who am I to say oh, I have this, when people go to school for years and years just to help others and diagnose people. So I definitely sorry, I was getting nervous. I definitely didn't diagnose myself with anything at the time. But as time went on, I noticed that I had certain triggers when it came to conflicts with certain people that kind of sent me spiraling down into that really low low that I mentioned before, after a mini, high episode. And these episodes usually lasted about a week or two. The longest I've ever had a depressive episode, I'd probably say was recently, which is almost around 3 months, which is a really long time for me. I never had a depressive episode that lasted that long. So, yeah. This was going on for years. So I'm about to turn 19 in a couple days as this is being uploaded. My birthday's on the 29th of this month. And I've been having these up and down, high highs, low lows ever since I was 15 or 16 years old. So imagine how tired I am. It got pretty bad. I had a lot of conflicts throughout high school, and I had a lot of workloads. I was going through relationships, friendships, conflicts, and also really high highs, really lows when it comes to just, my, entire journey through high school. It's what happens when you're a teenager. Not everything is going to be, static, fine. What really triggered the really, really, really bad episode was 2020. Everybody's 2020 was so ass. Everybody knows that shit was really bad. COVID came around, school got kind of, because school was canceled. It was just really hard for everybody. Everybody was isolated. The suicide and depression rates were skyrocketing because everybody was stuck at home by ourselves and everything. But 2020 was especially hard for me because the first thing that I opened 2020 was a breakup. My ex-boyfriend actually left me, and then February came around, I had really big news come, and that kind of threw off my entire, course for the rest of my life. That happened, and then March rolled around. I traveled for spring break, and then COVID broke out. I just kept making bad decisions, bad decision after bad decision, that just kind of set me up for failure over and over and over, and it just kind of sent me into this really up and down state all of the beginning of 2020. Now I would say between April and August, I can't really remember because my brain blocks it out, but after my bad decision after bad decision, it just kept getting worse. I just felt so alone. I felt worthless. I felt hopeless because I just kept setting myself up for failure, and it was just one thing after another. Like I said before, I definitely had some pretty traumatic experiences that, occurred between March, April, May, and because of this, I started going to therapy. So since we're on the topic of therapy, I want to once again thank the sponsor of this video, which is BetterHelp. If you don't know what BetterHelp is, it's basically an online therapy session that you can log in from anywhere. They have so many options when it comes to therapy. They have over 15,000 counselors in their network that literally can help you out and get you on your feet no matter what time of the day. You could just log in and start chatting if you need to. When you log in, they assess your needs and match you with the best person that they feel is for you, and you can start start talking to them within 48 hours, which I find amazing, because when it came to me finding a therapist a long time ago, I find the hardest part was actually finding somebody, but through BetterHelp, they make it really easy and really simple. And if you're like me and you don't do face-to-face confrontation very well, they give you the option to text your therapist whenever you need them. They're not a crisis hotline. It's literally just a network of therapists that you can talk to. And thankfully, the service is available worldwide. So literally wherever you are in the world, if you feel like you need a therapist, you can literally sign up for BetterHelp and get the help you need. And once again, like I just said, since it's over the phone, you don't have to wait in really weird, like kind of stiff therapy rooms. You can text them, you can call them. And if you don't really like the counselor that you got paired with the first time, you could definitely contact them and just say, hey, I want a new one, and they will set you up with somebody new. BetterHelp definitely wants to aid in your mental health and mental health journey like it helped with mine. And I would say that it's very, very, very affordable compared to traditional therapy, especially if you don't have insurance. Literally at your fingertips and cheap. It's a win-win. If you're interested in trying BetterHelp and getting your mental health back on track just like I did, you can use the website link down below for all my aliyah.simonee watchers. Like, you get track when it comes to mental health. And let's get back into the video. Everything was kind of moving really fast because while all this was happening between all my traumatic experiences that I don't wish to speak on the internet because it's really personal to me and I just don't want to relive that and hear about that from strangers for the rest of my life. I had some pretty traumatic experiences that led me into going to therapy, and everything was kind of moving at 100 miles per minute. Like, everything was just happening. So all this is happening, I'm still trying to get ready to move to go to school. So I ended up moving to school. I ended up moving to Greensboro, North Carolina for school. I got my first apartment. Many of you may or may not know. I'm supposed to have a roommate. She never moved in. I don't know what happened with that. I love living alone. Like, the first couple weeks was amazing. I got up and made breakfast, made dinner. Like, I used to go out when I wanted to. It was nice being at my parents' house after the year I kind of had. It was kind of like a breath of fresh air in a sort of way, and it was definitely needed. But after a while, I just had something happen at that apartment, and I had a conversation with a certain somebody. And remember how I said I had certain triggers when it comes to conflicts with certain people? I had a trigger with them, and it sent me spiraling into one of the deepest, darkest places I've ever had. The night that I went spiraling, I don't know what happened that night. It completely blacks out. All I know is that I was out late at night by myself, no phone, just kind of out existing. The next morning or 2 days after, I can't remember, I wanted to go to the hospital to get some help. So I Ubered to the emergency room in hopes to get on some antidepressants and finally figure out what's going on and I can get diagnosed. I got there, I took a COVID test, pretty traumatic. That was my first ever COVID test, which I took. But yeah, it was pretty traumatic, and one thing led to another, and I ended up getting checked into a mental hospital psych ward for 3 days. When I got to the hospital, it gave me the option to go to the hospital every day for a month to get help and go in group support, or go to the mental hospital for 3 days straight, 72 hours, and then I can go home, get diagnosed with what I wanted, like whatever I was going to get diagnosed with, and get my medication and go on. I took the mental hospital because, one, I didn't have the funds to Uber to and from the hospital every day for a month. I didn't have a car yet. I didn't have my license. While I was in the hospital, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder type 2. I usually never talk about this on here just because it's a really touchy subject, and all the stigmas that kind of surround bipolar disorder makes me not like want to talk about it because I don't. But I ended up getting diagnosed with bipolar type 2, and I started medication ASAP. And after 3 days, my dad came and picked me up. I spent a week at my mom's house, and that was the closest thing to fresh air that I got being in the mental hospital. Still a touchy subject because, you know, I was literally just freshly turned 18. I was alone. I had no family. Like, it was pretty bad. I began my medication, and I started learning why I acted the way I did, how did this come to be, and everything like that. And it was a lot. Everything, like, all the loose ends kind of started coming together. And, sorry. I just shut down when I come to, like, talk about stuff like this because, it's just really uncomfortable. Ever since, I would say, around March 2021, I have been in the deepest depressive episode that I've ever had, and the longest too. It was just during this time I just felt so like out of myself and like out of body. I was losing my drive, I was losing my willpower, I was losing my want to do anything with myself. Literally all I wanted to do was kind of sleep all day, scroll through TikTok, and just kind of not do anything. I wasn't eating. I stopped trying in school. I did terrible in school this semester, I'm not gonna lie to you. And it was just dark. I tried to help it, you know, with my meds. I tried to go out with my friends more. I was too tired to do that very often. After about 2 months of this, I kind of got sick of it, and after one certain occasion that happened recently, two of my closest guy friends were like, yo, like, what are you doing? Like, you need to, like, we need to fix this. So I thank y'all so much. I owe y'all the world, because if y'all didn't have that conversation with me, I don't know where I would be right now. But they had a conversation with me, and I'm slowly getting back on my feet. So thank y'all if you're watching this, for helping me get back on my feet and getting me back in my groove. And it's been a long journey. Like, without my friends here to like help me and keep me straight set, you know, just kind of keeping up with everything, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. Probably sinking crack off of somebody's ass. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. That's basically what my journey has looked like. That's a very like brief summary, just because that's what I'm okay with sharing. This video is specifically hard to make for me because it's forcing me to look at what I dealt with and like who I am now and like what I had to deal with, and realize like, hey, like this is you, like you went through this and you can never forget about this. But it has definitely, you know, made me self-reflect, which is a big part of this video, which I wanted to talk about. Things such as like how I knew I needed help, how I got better, therapy, like things about that. So I'm gonna start with how I know I need. The first thing I noticed when it came to me getting help was I felt emotionally numb. I was never present. I felt out of body every day. I only felt emotions through people, and I only felt emotions when people around me were feeling emotions. So if my boyfriend was sad, I was sad. If he was happy, I was happy. He was my person, which is something that a lot of people with bipolar disorder have, a person. So somebody they attach themselves to, and whatever they're feeling, they usually feel, which is something I learned. That explains why I acted the way I acted. I never felt like myself. I just felt out of body. I never felt in tune with myself for long periods of time, and when I felt like myself, I was in a manic episode. So a very turnt version of me was the only time I ever felt like myself. And when it came to recovery and everything, this is kind of like the hard part, because when it comes to mental health, it's usually hit or miss. But I will say something that definitely helped me was having a good and solid support system, because without that, I probably wouldn't be where I am today with like my mom, my sister, my friends who are, or just anybody who's around me right now. Like if they weren't around, I don't know what I would be doing. Like, I love y'all so much. I know I don't say it much, but I'm learning on how to communicate that better. I stopped forcing friendships and relationships, and I just let people stay who wanted to stay, and if they wanted to leave, I let them leave. Another big part of my recovery was, in fact, therapy. So something else I want to talk about in this video is medication and psychiatrists. Now, this is usually a very controversial topic when it comes to the mental health community, or just like community in general, because usually when you tell people you're on meds for your mental health, you either get a sigh of relief or it's like, you don't need those, you know? And me personally, I was one of those people who felt very weird when it came to, you know, taking meds, because I was like, I need medication to be normal. Like, I need medication to function. And it made me feel weird, but I was to say thank you so much to my mom, because she's actually the one who kind of talked me through it. She made sure I was okay, made sure I had all the resources I needed when it came to my mental health, and she was just really there when I started that whole thing. So yeah, I will say that me starting medication and seeing a psychiatrist and going to that mental hospital, although it was hell when I first went in there, coming out there and knowing like what I had and getting on medication and having a label for something, probably one of the best things I've ever done for myself and my mental health. So touchy subject. So, I would also like to talk about maintaining mental health in this video. Today's day and age, becoming self-aware and kind of focusing on yourself when there's literally millions of other people you could be focusing on to distract yourself from the personal issues that you have. It's hard. I know it's hard. But ever since I started my actual journey, I have become so much more self-aware. And how I personally maintain my mental health, that's the first step. I became self-aware. I have to pay attention to myself, because when it comes to mental health, anybody who has mental health, like a mental illness or just mental health issues in general, you know how important it is to catch these things before they get bad. So I'm literally forced to look at my actions and reflect on my days and say, hey, was today a good day? Like, are you good? Like, did you get up? Something else I realized I started doing was talking to people, no matter the day, no matter the time, no matter the holiday, no matter the event. If I feel some type of way, I'm gonna say it, because I just feel like after so many years of kind of bottling everything up and finally getting pushed over the edge, I need to say something. So I have so many people around me that will answer me at any time of the day. BetterHelp answers at any time of the day. That I can talk to, so I don't have to bottle everything up and have it spill over like it did last time. I have started spending more time with myself. Self-care is really important. It's so easy to get into that toxic cycle of just friends, work, grind, school. Like, it's so easy to get into that kind of hamster wheel. of that, you know, process. And it's easy to get caught up in not taking care of yourself because it's, you know, you get caught up. But I literally force myself to do something nice for myself every day, whether it get something to eat, watch a YouTube video, or anything like that. But it helps. It really does help. Something that I was kind of, you know, hesitant about talking about in this video was social media's impact on my mental health, but it has been such a huge impact on my mental health. I feel like it would be wrong to not talk about it. So I'm just going to start from the beginning and say I compare myself to other creators 24/7. Probably like you do too. We look at all the things we don't have. I touched upon this, you know, in my last episode of the Glow Up Diaries. But we look at the things that we don't have. We look at the cars we don't have. We look at the apartments, the money, the fame, the fortune, the clothes. We look at everything we don't have, and it's like, what the hell am I doing wrong? Like, what? You know, like, why am I not there? You know? And it's kind of draining because it's like, no matter how hard you work, sometimes you just feel like you can't get to that. I had serious self-image problems when I was, say, maybe I was 15, 16 years old, because that's when comments about comparing and contrasting me to other creators got really heavy, and it was really bad because it's like, no matter what I did, no matter how creative I was, this is all people see of me. A miniature copycat version of whoever they choose to compare me to that week. And I would say that is probably the worst feeling ever. I was never my own person, and me not feeling like myself, that contributed to me not feeling like myself, because it's like, well, no matter what I do, I'm not me. Like, y'all, like, people tell me all the time, like, oh, you're trying to be, and I'm like, no, like, I'm my own person, like, let's not forget. You know, comments from the past couple years have definitely affected me. I was talking to an old friend a couple months ago. I was like, yeah, it got so bad to the point where, like, I just feel like I can't get certain tattoos, piercings, I can't listen to certain music, I can't dress a certain way because I need to feel like my own person. And he told me, like, that's pitiful. Like, nobody should have to live like that. And ever since I heard him say that, I was like, you know what? That is pitiful. So when it comes to my mental health and them helping me learning how to live on my own time, and not letting pixels and codes kind of sorry, I put my hand on my boobs when I get nervous. So learning how to live on my own time instead of like listening to pixels and codes who don't know me behind the scenes, who only sees what I post. That's the only, you know, drop of entertainment y'all get from me. You don't see everything. That's probably the best thing I ever did. And the person I had this conversation with, I appreciate you. I love you dearly. We haven't talked in a while, but thank you for that. And it's a huge role into where I am now and who I am now. And if we didn't have this conversation, I don't know what I would be doing with myself. Like, I feel like I would still feel lost as hell, you know? I would also like to say that we're all on our own paths. So, like, it's easier said than done, but we have to remember we're all on our own paths. So when you go to compare yourself to somebody on social media, like, oh, getting my first car at 17, apartment hunting at 17, like, oh, getting my first designer Gucci belt at fucking 3 years old, like, we all have different paths, and that's something I had to realize. Like, I'm doing this for whatever reason. I'll know the end goal when the end goal is here, you know? Now you're probably thinking, Leah, so what was the whole point of this? So, over the last month, weeks, years, days, hours, you know, my mental health journey has been a lot. It's been a roller coaster. It's been up and down, and that's normal. Mental health isn't constantly up. It's up, down. You go back some days. Sometimes you go 2 steps forward and 14 steps back, and sometimes you have 2 good weeks and 3 shitty months. Like, you know, like, it's normal for it to not constantly be up, because our mental health literally controls everything we do. Our willpower, our drive to do things, mental health drives all of that. So when it comes to it, make sure you take care of it, because without it, we cannot do anything. Like, we'll be in ruts. Nobody wants to be in a rut. Nobody wants to be in a depression episode for 3 fucking years. It's normal to do so. Nobody wants to feel bad about themselves 24/7. But it all starts up here. And I would say over the past month, I started prioritizing my mental health. So if I feel like that comments are bothering me, I don't read them. I don't read my YouTube comments anymore because sometimes they just got so brutal, and I just stopped reading them. And honestly, my mental health has been so up. If I see a comment I don't like on Instagram, delete, block. Call it self-care, if you will. I just feel like whatever's in the way of making you feel the best you can be, I just feel like our mental health needs to be put first. And I love that everybody's getting on the mental health, you know, we're taking care of it like wave, because this literally runs everything. So this is the end of the video. But I just wanted you to know that your mental health is important and you're on your own path, and I want you to take care of yourself. Like I said before, I don't know who this is going to help. I know this is a very Aaliyah-driven video where I don't really give advice. I'm just talking. But I want whoever's watching this to know that, like, we all have our own struggles, but how you deal with them is what defines you. And you're a strong person. Like, I believe in you. Like, if I can go from wanting to die to literally feel like I never want to leave this beautiful place called Earth that I call home, you can do it too. And that's probably really simpy and really like, yeah, you know, but like, no, but yeah, you guys are probably expecting something extremely different for this mental health episode, but you know what, I'm proud of me for talking about this. So yeah, I'm proud of you for sitting through this. I'm proud of you for getting, you know, living long enough to get through this. Be grateful, you know. But yeah, that's it for today's Glow Up Diaries episode. Yeah. See you guys in the next one.